put in that layer in the scene really says a lot about their characters and how they're growing to care about each other, you know. And so we consistently worked on that, and we were really determined that that story, just the Sebastian and Rachel story, would have a full journey and a satisfying end. So I hope we've achieved that.
Joseph, it is an honor to finally chat with you. I have been a fan of you for years, and as someone who's always said that Joseph Morgan needs to be in the DC universe, you have no idea how much I freaked out when your casting came out and what you've done. No, but I geeked out. So, and what you've done with this character is it's both phenomenal, but also it's absolutely terrifying. Which you do that best, phenomenal and terrifying. So, so walk me through reading the script for this episode, for episode 6, because I don't know what I just watched last night 2 times. I'm still trying to process that.
It was pretty exciting for me because, first of all, episode 6 has those flashbacks, right, into Sebastian's past. So we get to see a little bit of that, including like that really, it was a terrifically written scene with Julie and what happens there in that restaurant between the two of them. And then, I just wanted to try and plot the journey physically that Sebastian would have as well, in terms of like him going through this kind of resisting the prophecy and how that would manifest itself painfully in him, that he was fighting his destiny now. So that was an interesting process. And then, just sort of I think it was about 2 days we spent in the Temple of Azarath doing all of the sort of little bits that come in between the flashbacks where I'm talking to Mother Mayhem or I'm suffering in the background while she talks, to one of her lackeys or something. But it was a really fun process. And then, of course, going into the pool at the end was tremendously exciting, because you think, well, what happens now? It's what a great place to leave it there. And the logistics of that were interesting as well. There had to be 2 pools built, so you start by going into one, but then there's a deeper one on a green screen where you can actually go below the surface. It was a process and quite expensive apparently, but it was worth it for me.
Yeah, that was I was gonna ask next, because I couldn't pick what was like more intense. You drinking from Mother Mayhem, or then you drinking the whole bowl and then going into the pool. Was that like red water? Was that CGI? Like, what was that? Did you have to hold your breath for a while, or what was going on?
So in the pool that was in the Temple of Azarath is a shallower pool, and that was just like water with coloring. But, they have to make it lighter because in reality, the show's it looks quite dark in post-production. So if they'd made it as dark as real blood, it would just look black in post. So we had to change the color of that, so that it would work with the color grading afterwards. And then the other pool had a kind of thick glucosey type liquid in it. So it was thicker to have that consistency, and I had to walk into that. But the problem with that, Andy, is that it was incredibly buoyant. Nobody realized that it was physically impossible for me to go below the surface, because you're fighting it. You can't keep.
Yeah.
So I ended up doing the whole last bit of the walk with a 40-pound dumbbell in each hand, so that it would be heavy enough for me to actually go below the surface, So it was, it was incredible. I had to be sewed into my costume so it didn't kind of come up around my head, and tie the glasses on and everything. That ain't nothing. Wait till you see me come out of the pool.
Yes, I was going to ask that next also about, because, the costume is sick. I keep zooming into the images just to look at the sculptures and the scripting. Can you talk about the first time you put it on? Because I'm sure, even if I try to ask you when we will see you in the suit, I'm sure you're not allowed to say, but can you talk about the experience of putting it on for the first time? And because I chatted with one of the costume designers last week, and he said that you were very involved with the costuming for Sebastian Butterblood.
I mean, the suit itself, I was quite involved with the costume for Sebastian as well. But in terms of the suit, it was a pretty involved process. It was about one fitting a month for about 7 or 8 months. And then, it started off with just intensive measurements and scans, body scans and everything. And then, they started showing me concept art. And then we talked a lot about the style of the suit, which LJ Super Suits made it. And they do, as well as Titans, they do The Boys and a lot of other shows. They're awesome. And LJ herself is especially awesome. Anyway, she wanted it to be like a suit of armor. And I loved that idea because there's an ancient quality to the magic that he is channeling. And to the character in the canon, there's, the idea that although we're not following this in the series of Titans, in the canon, he, brother blood is a power that's passed down from father to son, and son has to kill father to take on the power. So the idea that there was this kind of ancient costume really appealed to me. And so it had separate pieces, like the gauntlets and stuff were strapped on with leather straps and buckled. And so we every detail would be examined and talked about and thought about, even down to the buckles on my gauntlets and on that fastened the cape would have they had a little snake. Mm-hmm. on the buckles, and these guys, they came up with a language that was based on blood capillaries that actually translates, and they wrote different things across the cape and around the armbands and everything. So I was lucky enough to be consulted on all of it. But really, honestly, Andy, I got to tell you, I barely wanted any change to what they were doing. It was so cool and so kind of perfect from the beginning. I really felt like I wasn't ever fighting them on anything, My biggest concern was that the cape would be dark enough in color. And once you see it, I mean, you haven't seen it in situ yet. Even in the photo shoots, it looks a little lighter than it looks on set. On set with the smoke and the lights and everything, it looks incredible. So I was really happy with all of it.
Now, this might be an odd question to ask, but because I became very invested in Sebastian, so I have to ask: can he be saved, or is he lost? Are we going for basically there's no point of return basically for Sebastian?
No, he can be saved, certainly. I think it's not going to be a different character when you see the rest of the episodes. He's the same guy. He's got power now. And there's something in him that his destiny is unfolding, and it's playing to his ego and to the parts of him that felt rejected and disenfranchised all of his life. He's now feeling what it likes to be someone with power, to be someone with confidence, but it's the same guy, and he's going to have that same humanity that we put in throughout. We worked really hard to make sure it wasn't just like, now he's brother blood and he was Sebastian. Like, he's still Sebastian. He's still this guy, So I think there's an opportunity there definitely for him to be saved, and it's just whether he wants to be saved,
Well, someone that he bonded with right before his transformation was Rachel. So can you tease, could she be crucial to his potential redemption or to potentially saving him?
Oh, she's crucial to his whole journey, man. Like me and Tegan worked tirelessly on connecting those characters and making sure that every scene that we had together, we found every opportunity. I'll give you an example, okay, from an episode you've seen. There's a scene where we're in a diner together and we're having pancakes, right? And it's a really sweet scene. And it was great, and we looked at it with the director, and the writing was great. But me and Tegan just felt like there's a layer here that we could put in that would make it even, it would reinforce the characters even further. And so we thought, it's a really fun scene, but what about if we have a moment where she notices that he's kind of putting on a brave face a bit, and she goes, "Hey, are you okay?" Or something like that. I can't remember what she said, but it's something like, "Hey, are you all right?" And yeah. And there's just that moment of knowing that everything isn't really okay. We're just both trying to get through this together by covering it with this fun and hey, we're just we're playing around and we're having a joke. And I thought to put in that layer in the scene really says a lot about their characters and how they're growing to care about each other, And so we consistently worked on that, and we were really determined that story just the Sebastian and Rachel story would have a full journey and a satisfying end. So I hope we've achieved that.
Well, I can't wait to see more of it. As someone who's, you've been a lead before on your own show, how was it coming into this cast who is 4 years into their journey?
I just had to make sure they all understood that I was the leader now. So just like whoever's been in charge before, forget about them. The hierarchy's changed now. I'm, no, it was great because, the first 3 episodes, I didn't work with them apart from the very end of the 3rd episode, So I was coming in, once a week to film my scenes, and it was like I was doing my own little movie about this guy, Sebastian. And then, then we got thrown into the deep end because we did all of episode 4 where I'm just with them, with all of them all the way through. And, it was really good. They were really accommodating. Everyone was so nice. All of them really. They were all just really great and welcoming and all about the work and ready to make the show better. That's one thing I'll say for all of them. They all want it to be the best show it can possibly be. And so anyone coming in with ideas that's respectful, they appreciate that, and they were great. And especially, with Tegan, because I was really pushing for that from the beginning. Before I even met her, I'd read some of the scripts and I was like, this is happening. Like, I'm going to focus on this relationship. This is going to be a key part for Sebastian. I'm going to make sure try and even take it off the page and make it a bigger thing, because I think that connection to family, I've had some success with that as well before in a series. And I think that's something people can relate to, and that's important. And I think that would be important for him. So she was really game for that. And everyone's great. I'm still texting with Jay now because I've just been watching his show that's come out, I'm almost finished with it now. I've watched almost all of it. So we've been chatting a lot. Yeah.
I spoke to Greg Walker a couple of weeks ago, and he said to me that when I asked about Sebastian, is he going to change the Titans forever? He said, and I quote, "He's more than just a villain of the season." So I want to follow up that question with you now. Like, how will Brother Blood change the Titans, but without spoiling too much, obviously?
Because he became their friend first, I think, especially some of them, and later on in the season, there's another bond that is established with a different Titan, as well as what we have with Rachel. And I think that it's easier to fight a masked villain who is just doing something terrible for the sake of it being terrible, but for them to actually understand him and witness firsthand the pain that he has, and have it be something that they can relate to as well because of their struggle in their struggles with their lives. And certainly Rachel, it's very, very similar to what she went through. So I think then to have to try and stop this person and to have that conflict, there's going to be something in you the whole time that thinks, am I doing the right thing? And I'll tell you something, it's not going to be a happy ending for everyone on the show. And you come away from something where that does happen, and it changes you. I'm in dangerous territory now, mate. I'm in dangerous territory.
I know. I can tell, but that but to kind of get to that, as we kind of get ready to wrap up, what can you tease our readers at Screen Rant about part 2? Whenever, because I need those 6 episodes as soon as possible. I need to see what the hell is about to happen. So what can you throw us a little taste?
I'll tell you, you're going to have to wait to see the suit. You're not going to see it right away after the first 6. You're going to have to wait. And I'll tell you that, what can I tease that I haven't already teased to you? It's going to get physical with Sebastian. So there's going to be, there wasn't so much of the Titans has an incredible stunt team, and it's famous for its fights. So there's going to be some of that with Sebastian. You're going to see some of that with Brother Blood, but we're just not there yet. So you got that to look forward as well. So as well as there being this emotional tie and that being a struggle for the Titans and for Sebastian when they have to butt heads, there's also the physical side which is, pretty formidable on both ends. So there's going to be a clash there as well. and you're going to see more blood than you've seen in any production that I've been involved in, and that's saying something.
No, that's why I was laughing when you were drinking from her blood. I'm like, oh, Klaus fans are gonna laugh at this so much because like,
listen,
look, wherever he goes.
Wait till the second half of the season, mate. We need to talk after you've seen the second half, because I'm telling you, like, oh my God.
I am more than game to talk to you again about this, because I feel like I know what Sebastian's about to do, but I feel like I'm gonna have all the WTF moments in my head next time. So I'm more in game to talk to you again. But what else are you working on right now besides promoting Titans and so on? Anything? Are you writing or directing anything?
No, I'm shooting Halo. So you know the show Halo. I'm shooting season 2 of Halo right now. So I'm in Budapest at the moment shooting that.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I only had about 3 days off after I finished Titans, which was crazy. And I went straight here and started shooting this show in September. And then I'm on it until next May, I think.
Oh, wow. Well, everyone wants to work with you. Like, oh my God, Titans got Joseph Morgan. Now we got to get him. So
finally,
yeah. No, but seriously, it's been an honor to chat with you. Been a huge fan of you for years. And again, like I said, I've been telling all my friends for 5 years at least, like, why hasn't Joseph been on a DC project yet? Like, I was like fan casting you as a Joker like years ago. So,
oh man, I love that. Yeah.
Well, I mean, would you want to do another comic book property after Titans?
You know, like honestly, as long as the character is grounded and interesting, like I'm there. You know, I love comics. I love genre, as you can see from all of the stuff I'm doing. I mean, even now, look, I'm doing a sci-fi that's based on a video game, and I've just done a superhero show. Like, I am a fan of that stuff, so I'm happy to do that and to try, as long as there's a sort of grounded reality to the characters and it's something people connect to, then definitely.
Yeah, and I could tell based on, because I was seeing all year, you were tweeting, you were posting on Instagram, you were talking about this whole experience more than I've seen any cast member on Titans, which I felt it was very, I'm like, he must be really, really excited. I can see now after seeing these first 6 episodes, as brutal as they were, I can see why we're so excited to get into this character. But Joseph, thank you so much for your time. Hopefully we can speak after part 2, and you know, no matter how traumatized I am or whatever, so because it's, you know, and also you get to fight in a cave. That's going to be kind of cool.
Yeah, that's a whole other thing we'll talk about. That's got its own difficulties as well.
Well, you did it. But congrats on what has been an amazing season. You've come in and really just up the game. I think what has been one of the best villains of Titans of all time, but also someone that we get so much meat to. So I hope everything goes great with Halo, and I will chat with you in the new year whenever part 2 comes.
Thanks, Andy. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Of course.